Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Krista Escamilla Show. Thank you for being here. We love learning and growing together, and I'm glad you're choosing us to do that as a venue. So thank you. I also want to say thank you before we introduce our amazing guest. I want to thank all of you, or any of you, or if it was one of you, who nominated the Krista Escamilla Show for the Midland Reporter Telegram's Reader's Choice Podcast Host Award. So thank you for doing that. Hey, and please go vote if you get a chance. I would really appreciate your vote, and I, as always, love your support. So thank you. I also want to thank our sponsors. A big shout out and thank you to Kevin Foreman of Foreman Financial, also to Tapestry Hotel Midland and Hotel Santa Rita, Rig ID Workwear, Thin FR, Midland Cap Company, and joincapclub.com. Please support those local businesses however you can, or as I always say, just support local. Thanks again for being with us, and a big round of applause for today's guest. We have Tammy Vaught with us today. Tammy, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Tammy is the owner of Vitality Psychiatric Services, and she has an amazing story of how she got here to West Texas, and I can't wait to hear it. So thanks for sharing with us today.
Well, thanks, Krista, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. My story. I'm a West Texas girl.
Okay.
I grew up in San Angelo.
Wonderful.
Met my husband in college at Angelo State. We had a little detour out of Texas for about 12 years. We both went to grad school and worked in the Midwest, primarily in Michigan and the Detroit area. And then about 13 years ago, my husband took a job back here in Texas. That's what brought us to Midland.
Wonderful.
So we have been living here and enjoying the community in Midland, and are raising our kids here, and are glad to be a part of such a warm and lovely community.
And it really is a lovely community. And that's another one of your titles that I always say is our favorite title, and most challenging and rewarding at the same time. You are a mom of two.
I am.
How old are your little ones?
So my son is 12 and a half. He is entering the junior high world. And my daughter is 10, almost 11.
Wonderful.
We actually, when we moved to Texas, we did not have children, and we had been on quite the journey of infertility. And after we moved here, we ended up adopting both of our kiddos here locally in Midland, about 9 months apart. Wow. So we went from no kids to 2 kids in 9 months. After being married for 17 years with no children.
Wow, I love that story. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly is amazing how God works that way, and you through the struggles. What was that like, going through those struggles and then finding out you have 2 within 9 months?
We know, honestly, when we first moved here, I was really pretty lost, because we moved here for his work, and I was really finding struggle to figure out where I fit in, what my place was. And I actually prayed to God quite diligently about, what did you bring me here for? Like, I don't understand, because I can't find my place. And it was within a year of us living here that we started to embark on a journey to become foster parents, and then ultimately ended up being placed with our son. And then shortly after we were placed with our son, we had a young lady that reached out to us about a private adoption opportunity. And so everything just started unfolding really quickly. And so
Yes.
we had only lived here about a year when all of that kind of started falling into place. And so,
And now you know why you came to Midland.
we have talked about it multiple times, about being able to
Love
look back on that journey and realize with such certainty that God had a very special call for us. And it wasn't necessarily for my husband to be in employment here. He was calling us to be parents, and he knew that our children were here. And so
I love that.
it just took us across the country to be connected with them.
Oh, that's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
I love that. You were also an anesthesiologist, correct? Or am I saying that correctly?
So I'm actually a nurse anesthesiologist.
Nurse anesthesiologist, and that's what you really kind of started here in West Texas, right?
Right.
Okay.
So I got my master's in Michigan as a certified registered nurse anesthetist, or nurse anesthesiologist. Started working in anesthesia there, and then when we moved here, I was doing anesthesia locally and actually abroad. I was traveling and doing anesthesia a lot because I hadn't really plugged in with a full-time position at any of the hospitals locally. And continue to do that and continue to do it. I'd still do anesthesia about 2 days a month.
Wow.
Just to continue to stay in that scene and in that skill set.
Right. And then how did you make the switch? Because today we're going to be talking about all things mental health, which is such an important topic. I told you earlier, I consider myself a health enthusiast, whether it's mental health, physical health, spiritual health, and you said all three, which is so important to us. And we're going to talk, about mental health in just a moment. But first, how did you make the switch? Because, that they are so different.
They are. I mean, so different. Because I went from a profession where I largely made rapport with a patient in a very short period of time, and then put them to sleep and didn't have a conversation again with the patient.
I never thought of that. You're right.
Versus now, I spend all day listening and holding space for people and giving them a safe space to work their journey and be towards their journey towards healing. And so I'm listening all day long. Versus then it was nice to meet you. This is how it's going to go. And we go off to sleep and I sit largely in silence, listening to the beeps of an anesthesia machine.
Right.
So the journey is interesting. How it started was about 8 years ago. I was doing some research because I had a dear friend that was suffering from treatment-resistant depression and chronic pain. Nothing was working for him anymore. I was looking for options. And in my research, some research studies started becoming available that were centered around utilizing a medication that we give in the operating room called ketamine. And it's a very well-known anesthetic. I use it every day in the operating room. But it's being used in outpatient clinics to treat mental health and chronic pain. And so when I saw that and I started researching it, I immediately wanted to try to find him a clinic to be able to utilize this service. Well, it was very new and budding at that time. And so 6.5 years ago, there were no clinics in West Texas.
That offered it. There was no one that offered it.
No one that offered it. So he would have had to travel to the Dallas-Fort Worth area to be able to get that kind of treatment. And it's a pretty intensive treatment. It's multiple infusions. It's over time. And so it would have been obviously costly to have to travel and stay in a hotel. So I thought, well, maybe I could offer that. I could bring that here. And even if I only treat him and then shut it down, I will have gotten him what he needed and it is what it is.
Right. If you help one person.
Yeah.
Right.
One person. Right. Well, now here we are, 6.5 years later, hundreds of patients later. That particular clinic is known as Ketamine Clinic of West Texas, and that was where I started, was in October 2017, opening that clinic. And after a few years of working with patients with mental health and just becoming so passionate about helping people move towards healing, I decided to go back to school and become a psychiatric nurse practitioner as well. And
good for you. Was that a hard decision to make, or was it pretty easy because you knew you were going to help that person?
My other degrees I did without kids in the picture, right? So it was definitely a new experience to try to embark on a degree with children in the picture.
I bet.
But it was really something I felt passionate about because I wanted to be able to support my patients that were on the ketamine clinic side of my practice with a full spectrum of knowledge. The safety knowledge of my anesthesia background and understanding the medicine and being safe and knowing how to treat any kind of complications. But I wanted to have more knowledge about the mental health side, those diagnoses, the medicines people are on, being trauma informed and being able to understand what it means to work with someone who's experienced significant trauma in their life. So it made sense to me and seemed like a no-brainer that this was the next step.
Right.
So I went back to school, became a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and so then I opened the arm of the clinic that is Vitality Psychiatric Services. And really that was kind of two-factored. I wanted to be able to offer another layer of support to our community because ketamine is not for everybody. It's not
What is ketamine? I'm talking about knowledge. I'd love to know. What is that?
Well, it's an anesthesia medication that's been FDA approved since 1970 to be used in operating rooms for sedation and for pain, surgical pain.
Okay, surgical pain.
But we have discovered that it is a medicine that helps to rewire the neurons in the brain and improve neuron communication and connection and actually regrow neurons that have been damaged.
Wow.
And it can vastly change the trajectory for someone who has been on a mental health journey for a while.
Wow.
Often
great.
a lot of my patients are patients that have been treatment resistant. They've tried a lot of medications. Things are not working for them. And so we've got to take an approach to do something that may be a bit more neuro-reparative versus symptom control.
Right. Instead of putting the Band-Aid. Right.
Yeah, we
and
do.
actually fixing it.
Yeah, we do some really deep dive into the core of why are we experiencing anxiety? Why are we experiencing depression? Why is that trauma from when I was 12 continuing to like shackle and hold me captive in my adulthood?
Right.
And so it's not just getting a medication and going about our day. It's doing a really deep dive to hopefully heal in a long-term capacity.
I love that because I feel like everyone deserves healing in their life, no matter
There's
what
so
it is.
many
that
people that are walking around feeling like this is as good as it gets for me.
Right.
My history, my past, my circumstances, this is just as good as it gets. And that is not the case. We have potential to live into this one beautiful life in a really dynamic way, in a beautiful way. And I just love being a part of it.
I love that for you because I'm sure it is such a big difference career-wise, and the rewarding effects. Right? It's great. It's great to help someone in a surgery, but when that I don't want to take away from that. That's amazing. But to see someone go from living that life where they are unhealed and walking around thinking this is as good as it gets to really truly seeing and really healing, I bet is so rewarding.
It is something I never expected to experience. You don't go to nurse anesthetist school and anticipate that you're going to take a detour from that. That's really a really well-respected profession, and it's a very challenging profession to work through the schooling for, and you don't ever think that your path's going to take you away from that. That's going to be your end all. And for me to feel so strongly that I was being pulled in another direction, I still look back and think, I'm not even really sure how we got here. But after I have been able to look back over the hundreds of patients we've treated and remember what their eyes looked like when they came in and what their eyes look like when they finished treatment, totally different. Having their family, their spouses, their children talk about how we've got mom back, or we're seeing the sides of her that we haven't seen in a long time. Like, it's just been an amazing, amazing experience. But I also wanted Vitality Psychiatric Services to also be available to do traditional psychiatric care, diagnosing, treating patients with traditional medication management if that's appropriate, supporting them with psychotherapy, doing genetic testing to see if we can find the right med the first time, these kinds of things. So there's definitely two very different arms of my clinic, and they overlap. I've got a lot of mutual patients that cross the lines, and then I have patients that are on one track or the other. But it's really, I think, added a lot of support to my patients to know that I have knowledge and empathy to support them in their journey.
I love that. What a beautiful story. And I'm so proud of you for making that leap of faith, because it is tough. It is tough to make a career switch no matter where you are at in life. And we've all done it. And not, I shouldn't say we've all done it, but a lot of us have done it. And some are thinking of doing it right now.
Yeah.
And if you are, what advice would you give to someone that is maybe thinking of that? That's on their heart and they are wanting to make that switch. Do you have any advice that kind of would make it easier for them?
Interestingly enough, my husband at age 55 just made a career shift last year, a significant one. And so we've had this discussion a lot about how much courage it takes to say, I don't want to just live out the rest of my days doing this job that I don't feel passionate about, that I don't feel is fueling my soul and making me just want to be my best self and want me to just like be on fire for what I do. And it's so easy to just stay complacent and keep doing the thing that you're good at and that's easy.
Right.
So to make that decision is super courageous, and it's hard and it doesn't come without challenge, but it's so rewarding. And so I encourage anyone that's feeling like, I just don't know that this is it for me, they need to listen to themselves and say, it's okay and it's going to be worth it and I'm ready and surround yourself with a supportive group of people that are cheering you on, and go for it.
I love it. Good advice. Good advice. All right. So hopefully if that's you out there and you're considering it, listen, that is great advice. And I love the part that you said about other people cheering for you, because you do need to surround yourself, because it's a tough time, right? So surround yourself with people that are going to be cheering you on all the way. And if you don't have those people, call me. I will cheer for you always.
Yeah.
I want everyone
I'm
to
a big
live.
cheerleader.
I am too. I want everyone to live their best life and to do all the things that is going to make them happy and find that joy, because I believe every day is a gift, and we've got to find, live with joy every single day. We do something, Tam, and this is such a great conversation. I feel like we could do this for hours, because we haven't even gotten to any of my questions I have, but we're going to stop really quick for what we call quote of the day. And so you just reach in, grab a quote and read it and see what it means to you.
Okay, let's see. This says, don't let someone else's opinion of you become reality.
Ooh, that's a good one.
This is a quote from Les Brown.
That's a good one.
Don't let someone else's opinion of you become reality.
What does that mean to you?
Wow. The power of the mind and power of thoughts is so, it's really overwhelming. Both our negative thoughts and our positive thoughts can totally change the trajectory of our life.
Yes.
So if you are giving stock and energy to someone else's opinion, then often that can really deter your true purpose and your true authentic self and your own opinion of self. And you get blurred on what that even means. What do I believe? What do I feel?
Right.
And so while I think that it's good to listen to others' opinions, take stock in them, listen to them, evaluate. I'm real big into self-evaluation. But be sure to be cognizant to weed out the ones that don't serve you well, that don't support your higher purpose and your passion and your love for self.
Right.
But take and hold on to those opinions that build you up and elevate you to be your best.
Good example. That I love that. And a good example would be if someone had told you that you were thinking of leaving anesthesiology and going to be a nurse practitioner, and they told you, Tammy, well, that is the craziest idea, right?
Heard it.
Did you see? Well, I'm glad you didn't listen. See, you took stock and did not listen. And I love that, because sometimes you have to, if it's been planted in your heart and you know that this is where you're supposed to be, you have to listen to your gut instinct and to yourself, I believe. I feel like the times in my life I didn't listen to my gut instinct are the times that I wish I would have. And because it was right. The gut knows.
It does.
And so I love that what you shared there. What is your favorite quote that you kind of have lived by through the years, or that has really impacted you a lot?
Right now, especially with it being Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
And just the whole focus of that, the word awareness, raising just helping to bring down the stigma and letting people know that it is okay to talk about it, reach out for help about it, be authentic about it. One of my favorite quotes that I kind of have just really been resting in a lot lately is a quote by Brene Brown. She's amazing. You could pick any number of her quotes, her whole books.
Right.
But this one is really, really poignant to me. Vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weakness.
I love that.
I feel like so often people think that by being vulnerable or sharing their truth or sharing their pain, that it's showing that they're weak.
Yes.
I hear this over and over again, and it's not. Truth and courage are nothing, not even close to a weakness.
Yes.
And so vulnerability is something that we need to be embracing so much more and living into, because we never know when our story could unlock somebody else's prison.
I love that. And that actually leads into a great question that my husband had. We were talking about this with men and mental health and the stigma of mental health, because I feel like they can't be vulnerable. And I could be wrong here, and I'm going to let you dive into that. But why do you think it is that there is a stigma with men in mental health?
Gosh, I wish I could break the code on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of male patients, and I have some very, very prominent, well-known male patients that I tell them all the time, man, with your platform, if you would just share your story and what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, and your journey towards mental health wellness, like, gosh, the lives you could impact.
Right.
But because of fear of scrutiny and if that could impact their job, if it could impact their standing in society, if it could impact their relationship with their peers that look up to them, all of these things seem to be a factor. I don't know how to break the code on that and to let them know that through their vulnerability that they could radically change lives.
Absolutely. Sharing their story could help another person.
Yes. And
Absolutely.
there are people that their profession is speaking all around the world and around the country, sharing their vulnerable stories. And they've made such an impact on the world by doing that. But we're still behind a barrier on men feeling that vulnerability shows actually strength, not weakness.
Right. And I'm with you. It does show strength. It really does. And I feel maybe as us, just sitting here talking about this and having these conversations and keeping the conversation going and telling everyone it's okay. And that's what I really want to dive into next. That, how do you know when it's time to seek therapy and that it's okay, for men, for women, for everyone, no matter what the age is. Let's talk about that. What is mental health and when is the right time to seek a therapist?
Yeah. So mental health is complicated.
It is, because when you say the word, it's almost like a blank slate, just kind of when you say mental health, right? It's like, what does that encompass?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So in your expert opinion, what does it encompass?
That's a really good question. It's so easy for us to know physical well-being. We know when we don't feel good. We know when we're in pain physically. We know, when something's hurting or we're having a physical symptom.
Right.
So it's really hard to put tangible fingers around a mental health unwellness, if you will. And that's why when people talk about, if you could see someone's bruises from their mental health or their trauma or their experiences or their current situation, the people that would be walking around black and blue right now, we don't know it because they're glassed over and they're putting on the mask and they're going through the motions. But a physical wellness, when someone has a broken leg, when they had surgery and they're limping around.
Right.
Mental wellness to me is just as vital and just as important, if not more, to your physical wellness. Because if you are not mentally well, if you are struggling mentally, it's really hard to go seek to do the things to optimize your physical health.
Right.
So they're largely entwined.
Right.
I was working on a presentation that we didn't end up getting to do it, but I was in progress of writing up my presentation. And
Give it today.
I feel like that getting mental health treatment of some kind falls into, for me, 5 tiers is how I describe it. Okay. And the first tier are the things that are free. Drinking water, getting sunlight, movement, being in community with people, making a conscious choice that I'm not going to stay home. I am going to go to dinner with those friends. Yes. Journaling, mindfulness, meditation, all the free things to optimize just feeling an upliftedness and being able to appreciate the world around us.
I love that. Okay, number 1 is the free things. I'm going to write these down. That's awesome. I love that.
When you are really feeling like you're killing it with the free things, you're doing it all, and you just feel that sense of like, I just don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to engage. I feel excessive worry about every little thing around me.
Right.
Then you go to tier 2.
Okay, tier 2.
Tier 2. To me, tier 2 does cost money. You will likely have to spend finances, but it doesn't require an examination by a medical provider, and it doesn't include prescriptions or diagnosis. Okay?
Right.
So these things might be joining a gym, seeking a counselor, going and getting counseling, Maybe it's the craze with like cold plunging in saunas.
Yes, yes.
Which is amazing.
Yes.
But again, costs money. Supplements.
I was just going to say nutrition.
Vitamin
Vitamins.
supplementation,
Okay.
optimizing your diet. Maybe
Yeah.
you need to get some support with that, with a nutritionist or
Right.
someone to help guide you on proper vitamin balance. Still not feeling any reprieve. Still feeling dark. Still feeling heavy. Still feeling like you just aren't sure that you're ready for the next day.
Okay, so you've done 1, you've done 2, still not working.
Right.
What's tier 3?
Tier 3 is seeking either one of 2 arms, either medical professional first to do labs, a basic physical evaluation, checking to see is there something metabolic going on. Thyroid, hormones, those things can hugely impact your sleep, your anxiety, your depression. So getting a lab panel, getting a doctor on board to see if there's something medically that needs to be treated, or a psychiatric evaluation by someone like me who can do the deep dive into what's going on and establish is there a diagnosis that needs to be treated, possibly pharmaceutically, possibly with some medication support. Okay.
Okay, so that's number 3, and I don't want to get derailed because I want to come back to 4 and 5. But on 3, how do you start the conversation? So, say if you see within a loved one, right, that you feel like your loved one has tried 1, has tried 2, needs to maybe go to step 3, but they are reluctant, and you don't know how to start the conversation and going.
You know, the best thing is to go always first with love, first with vulnerability of your own. I care about you deeply. I want you to be living your best life. I see you. I see that you've been doing all the things, and I still know that you are struggling and you're hurting. And I would love to help you find the right person to help take you to the next step of getting the treatment you need.
I love that.
I mean, always leading with love and compassion and empathy. I see you, and not trying to fix them, not trying to dive in, not trying to say, hey, well, I did this and this is what worked. Just saying, I see what you're doing. I see you're trying. I see you're still hurting.
Yes.
I'd love to be alongside you and help you find the right person to support you and help you get over this hump and get moving forward.
I love that. Those are the most beautiful words I've heard when it comes to mental health. Really,
Thank
those
you.
are beautiful because it's a tough conversation and it's hard. And you want to help. You're thinking I'm helping with love by saying this, but when you say to really to lead with love and make that the first thing that you do and not try to fix them, but to try to help guide them to that next step. I love what you just said. That is amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, number 4, tier 4.
And I just recognized there's really only 4 tiers. There's
Okay,
no 5.
good. Okay, so
There's
number 4.
So 4th tier is the really more out of the box, profound, kind of cutting edge treatment options.
Okay.
And these things include things like ketamine treatment.
Okay.
There's something called TMS, which is transmagnetic cranial stimulation.
I've heard of that. What is that?
I wish
How
I
do
could
you
really give you a
explain?
valid answer. It's a very detailed treatment plan where they use magnets to deliver, to do some kind of rewiring in the brain. I haven't studied it
Okay.
enough, but it's a pretty intensive treatment course, and it's somewhat kind of hard to find. And I don't know that we have anyone in West Texas that's offering it right now.
Okay. It's kind of the rewiring of the brain
Right, with the
Okay.
use of magnets.
with magnets. Okay. Because I've seen it. I've read about it, but I didn't understand what it was. So that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, so it's FDA approved for treatment-resistant depression, so it is covered by some insurances, and so it can be a really great option. ECT, which is the old gold standard of electric shock therapy, you know, these are extreme things.
Right.
And so I feel like that's tier 4. And once you've hit into tier 3, likely your provider, like me, a psychiatric provider, is going to help guide you on whether or not tier 4 is something that even needs to be in your future at some point.
Right.
But you're going to work extensively in tier 2 and 3
For a while.
for
2
a
and 3,
while
yeah.
with counseling and medicine for a while before you would be pushed towards tier 4.
Right. What is your hope and your really your goal and your hope for all, not just your patients but all people regarding mental health?
Gosh, if I could just impart any kind of like dream, it would just be for people to lean into, again, the vulnerability of being able to say, I need help, to not feel like they have to do this alone. We were never meant on this earth to be alone. I mean, for those, I am a Christian, and for those that are, like, God made a partner.
Right.
Intentionally. He never meant for us to be alone. And that means a partnership in all aspects. And so leaning into the people around you and saying, I need help, I need support. Things seem to be going really well for you. And likely that person will say, it wasn't always that way.
Right.
I struggled, and then I went and did this, and this provider or this modality or this thing was super helpful for me. And so maybe you should give this person a call. But we have to start conversations, and we have to let people in to know that we're struggling. So I guess my biggest dream would be that people would just drop the masks and drop the facade and be willing to say, like, I'm not okay right now.
Right.
And know that the more that we are willing to do that, the more it will be met with compassion and empathy, and build a situation where people are supporting each other towards mental health wellness, instead of it being like, I'm trudging this journey all alone and I have nobody. Right. It will feel like a community supporting, rather than an individual journey.
I love that. And I hope that for you, for your patients, for everyone as well. I hope that we can get to that place where everyone knows that it's okay, and somebody is there helping and cheering them on, and knows that they're not alone. Because I think that's important, to know that you're not alone. I remember when I went through postpartum depression after one of my children, I remember that feeling of feeling so
isolative,
alone. You feel like nobody else knows how I feel right now. I'm feeling so alone. And if it wasn't for a friend saying, hey, I went through this, and I didn't feel so alone anymore. And I think that's important. And that's why I think what you said earlier, to be vulnerable and to share, you never know who you're impacting, because this person had told me it like 6 years before. It wasn't even a conversation recently, but I remembered 6 years before she had told me that, and I knew that was the person I could reach out to.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, and again, why you should share your stories, because you never know who you could help at that time, and who you may be able to reach out to, right, when you're struggling. And so I just love everything you're saying.
I think we would be really surprised if the masks were all down, or if our trials and tribulations were written on our arms.
Right.
I think we would be really surprised to know what people have been through in their
Absolutely.
world, and what they've conquered, and what they've come on the other side of. I mean, the success stories, the triumphs, I mean, they're just so amazing and beautiful. And so I think we would be so surprised, because when we look through these lenses that are so false, and we go, gosh, they've got it all together. They've got this perfect situation going on, and they grew up in a great home. They probably never have dealt with anything challenging. And it's just a false narrative.
It's not true.
It's not true.
Everyone has their challenges.
There's no one. And yes, sure. I mean, is there things across the spectrum on like the gravity of things? But I don't even like to think of it that way, because even the mildest of traumatic event, or if it was only for a moment and not a lifetime, however it imprinted and impacted on that particular human cells and psyche and body, could be causing them just as much mental unwellness as someone who's had months and months or lifetime of trauma. You don't know. So we just have to put it all as an even playing ground, and realize we're all human. We're all going through the things. We've all experienced hurt and pain and triumph and success and beauty and pain. And if we didn't have this darkness, it would be real hard to see light. Yeah. So being able to recognize our darkness and then go, gosh, but how amazing is that light?
Yes.
And run to it.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about reducing anxiety. You had a Monday post not too long ago that really, I was like, oh, I love that. And I hope we can share that tip when you come on the show, because I think a lot of people do have anxiety or are in anxious situations. It may not be something you deal with daily, right? But you may be having an upcoming event that is bringing you some anxiety. I hear it a lot, just because I'm a public speaker and speak a lot in public. I have a lot of people say, I could never speak in public, or, oh my gosh, I have to do this. What tip can I do? You gave an anxiety tip the other day. Could you share that or a couple with us today?
So that particular one is a fun one because it's kind of off the radar and it's kind of new to me. The whole concept is that you are trying to switch your brain from a rut. So when you're anxious and you're having anxious thoughts and ruminating thoughts, like you're in a stuck rut in the brain essentially. And it's very hard to shift gears and shift to another part of the brain. So we're trying with all anti-anxiety like tricks and things to try to shift. It's trying to shift out of the rut into another area of the brain.
Okay.
And so that particular one was eating a really sour piece of candy, like Warhead sour piece of candy, like that's going to make you make the face.
Yeah. I when you said Warhead, I even went,
the face.
Right.
And like, it's not just popping the candy in, but it's also like paying attention. What does it feel like on my tongue? What does it feel like in my body? Is it giving me that weird pain in the jaw right here? What does it taste? Can I taste sweet in the sour? Can I, do I smell it? Like really starting to focus in on the sensations with the candy. And you will start to realize that it shifts you've stopped thinking and ruminating on that particular rut that you were in.
The anxiety is gone.
And it's minimized or exiting. You've been able to have some relief. And so then it's often being able to like pivot from that point because you've shifted out of it.
I love it. And why does that work? What is it that, what is it about that candy?
Krista,
I am all for anything that's, we have to eat candy. I'm like, sure, why not?
I wish that I don't even know the science. I don't even know the science. I don't know if it's so much that there's something chemically going on as much as it is mindfulness.
The focus.
Okay. It takes your mind. It's a quick taking your mind off of things. Another technique that I recommend a lot and use myself is a 5-4-3-2-1 technique.
Me too. I love that one. I got it from Mel Robbins. I don't know if you.
I love Mel.
Oh, she's great. She's great. Yeah, she had the 5-second rule book. I love it.
Yeah, she's great. In fact, Colin Sewell, if you're watching this, you need to get Mel Robbins out here for your next leadership conference.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. To have Mel Robbins and to have John C. Maxwell on the same stage, I think I might just be like, okay, that's it.
Well, they would have to do like a 2-day. It would sell out twice.
I agree.
Seriously.
I agree.
But
yeah, that 5-4-3-2-1.
Yeah. So the concept of being mindful of your senses, so thus the candy. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, I think, or maybe it's touch. 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can I'm gonna muck this up because I can't think of them in order, but I know
okay.
that it's
that's all right.
I know that it's see and then touch, and then I think it's 3 things that you can smell, 2 things that you can hear. And 1 thing you can taste.
Yes.
It may be in reverse, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter. The concept is thinking about each of the different senses and trying to find 5 of one, 4 of the other, 3. And that's doing the same thing. It's drawing your attention to your mindfulness around you, your space around you, what's going on around you.
Yes.
And then drawing it away from the anxiety trigger, whatever that obsessive thought is that's controlling your mind processes at the time.
I love that. And that can work in so many situations. Just, when you think about it, different situations that make you anxious. Again, I'll use public speaking because I've heard that is such an anxiety invoking thing for people. But I always suggest to someone before they go into a situation to look at the room and know and kind of point out that 5 things, like, so they'll know where they're going to be standing. They know where they're, who of course is the audience. They kind of pinpoint those things because that will help give you a little bit of, okay, I know what the room looks like already. I know where I'm going to be standing. Pointing those things out will help reduce a little bit of anxiety with the public speaking. But this can work in any situation. I mean, it really can. It can work in anything that is bringing those feelings to you.
Absolutely.
I love it.
And I mean, and that is not to minimize. I do not want to minimize those that suffer from extreme anxiety and panic disorders.
Right.
That they've walked through all the mindfulness techniques.
Right.
They know them. They've done them. They've done the deep breathing, the breathe in for 8 and out for 4. They've done the things. And they need chemical support at times to help with diffusing or some of their anxious thoughts.
Right.
But the idea is that chemicals, in my opinion, are for a time period. They're for a season. They're not forever. And working and learning these kinds of coping techniques and tools so that you can get back to being in level in tier 2 and tier 1.
Yeah.
I'm always working to de-prescribe. Even though I'm a prescriber, I work to de-prescribe.
Right.
And get
You want people in 1 or 2.
I want people down in 2 and 1, tier 2 and 1. I want them to de-prescribe.
Yeah.
And so that's my goal, is always meeting people where they're at, listening, hearing them, seeing them, and meeting them where they're at, and working collaboratively with them,
Yes.
what they're comfortable with, because not everybody is comfortable being on meds.
Right.
And then saying, okay, what are our common goals? And how do we get there? And then supporting them and walking alongside them to help them chart their own journey.
I love that. I love everything about this conversation. So good. So important. We're going to take a quick break because we have our question of the day.
Okay.
And so this is just a random question. Who knows what it'll say? Let's see which card you got. You got the trusting card, which of course you have to trust you in your this is a good question.
What or who is your why?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to go bold and
Okay.
vulnerable.
Do it.
And I'm going to say that I'm my why.
I love it.
I am not without a tumultuous past. I've been through mental health journeys. I have conquered a variety of different things throughout my lifetime. And so I think that we need to be our why. And a lot of times that's not our forecoming thought. It's my kids are my why,
Right.
or this is my why. But to really be able to lean into like my children and my husband and my relationship with them, I have to be my why.
Yes.
And so my why is me.
I love that. I think thank you for being vulnerable, because I think a lot of people are scared to admit that, right? They want to say, oh, it's this or it's that, or, but you have to take care of, if mom is not taken care of, the family's not taken care of, right? So
Yeah.
I agree with you. I believe you have to do one thing for yourself every day before you can be a good wife, mom, employer, employee, wherever you're.
Friend, mentor, all of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
If friend, daughter, son, wherever you're at, if you haven't focused on what you need to do and fill your cup, how can you fill the others? You can't. You can't. I love that. That is a great answer. That is awesome. Okay, I want to talk about, so much. I want to give advice. Not me, because I don't need to be giving any advice.
Me neither.
Tammy, and I want to remind everyone, I'm speaking here today with Tammy Vaught. She is the owner of Vitality Psychiatric Services, and we have been having an amazing conversation about mental health and all the things. I mean, just really there's so many different aspects to talk about in mental health.
We could have some part 2 and part 3.
We could, but I want to talk about things that you feel are important, because I kind of mentioned this right before we began. I said, are there any topics that, because you always, you think about depression and anxiety, but there could be other things that we are all struggling with on a daily basis that don't get talked about enough. And so I thought I would open it up to you to talk about some of the things that could help our listeners and viewers, for all of us to live our best life. Because again, that's my goal for each and every one of you, is to truly embrace this beautiful life that we live in and live it to its fullest.
Goodness.
I know there's so much.
So the number one thing that I address with patients is sleep.
Yes.
Optimizing sleep hygiene. It's one of the first things I ask patients, new patients to me. Tell me about your sleep.
Love it.
And when they say it's awful, because almost everybody does, I said, well, let's talk about it. What does your sleep routine look like? And they're like, what sleep routine? Okay, well, there's our starting point.
You mean the 5 hours of Netflix before 2 a.m.? Is that what you're
Right.
Right.
Sleep hygiene and being able to really understand the importance of sleep. If we are not getting quality sleep, at least most of the nights of the week, everybody has off nights of not sleeping well.
Right.
But if we are not getting quality sleep, it impacts everything else down the line. Our physical health, definitely our mental health.
Yes.
So doing all the things to optimize sleep, that's probably number one for me.
Okay, sleep.
I was also reading a quote today. I think it's Buddha.
Okay.
A Buddha quote about our thoughts. I can't quote it exactly. It's about our thoughts and how negative thoughts can significantly impact our life. But so can positive thoughts.
Yes, I love that.
And that's not the exact quote. And it's a really beautiful quote, so try to find it.
Just Google Buddha positive thoughts, negative thoughts quote.
Yes.
Yeah, but I know exactly which one you're talking about.
And the
yes.
impact of what I think is the important part of the impact is finding ways to disrupt negative thought patterns and fill them with positive thought patterns. And sometimes that can feel so cheesy and unauthentic. When you think and you've believed something about yourself for a long time and you're trying to what I call thought block or flip those thoughts, for the first long while of doing things to try to thought block or to flip, it feels super unauthentic.
Right.
If you're trying to tell yourself that you're worthy and you've thought or been told in childhood that you weren't,
Yeah.
and you're trying now as an adult to change that thought pattern, it's going to feel super unauthentic to be saying, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy every day, writing it, saying it. And when the unworthy comes in, being able to grab it, like physically grab it, write it down on a piece of paper, I'm unworthy, and crumple it up or put it through the shredder at work or burn it in a fire pit, something physical to watch that negative thought go away. And even though it feels unauthentic, if you will stay diligent with it, you can reverse negative thought patterns and turn them into positive ones. And so the negative thoughts that have been infiltrating you and negatively impacting your life, positive thought patterns can do exactly the same thing. So that's number 2.
Love that.
And then the final one is developing a gratitude practice. Gratitude practice can wildly enhance your life. And it's another one that can feel really uncomfortable for people or feel very inauthentic or lame, whatever you want to call it. But
Well, I think it's hard at first, right?
is, it
Because I
is.
remember when Oprah, love Oprah, when Oprah said, start your morning off with 5 things you're grateful for every morning. This was
And you're
years
like-
ago. And I was like, how am I going to come up with 5 every single day?
Well, and you're like, I've got a roof over my head.
Right.
I had breakfast in the kitchen. I've got 2 kids that are healthy. My husband is here. Like and I've got a car to get to work. And
Right.
you're like, oh my gosh, that's so surface.
Right.
And at first it is. And that's okay.
And that's
But
okay.
write the surface and write the same ones. The coffee was hot and my creamer was good. Like write the basics.
Right.
But if you will do it diligently, I do it at night, but if you do it diligently, you'll start to find that it will start to blossom and you'll start to look for things. This is a Mel Robbins thing, how she looks for hearts.
Yes.
You'll start to find things that otherwise wouldn't have necessarily been something you would have been so thankful for. But today you can grab onto it with great gratitude because maybe it was a really rough day. And so
Yeah.
it's a little hard to find those 3 to 5 gratitude points. But you'll find that over time they will become really, really obvious and beautiful all around you if you'll take the time to hone in on that practice.
I love it. I love it. Sleep, positive thoughts, and finally, gratitude. Those 3 things, if you can take those 3 things away from today's episode, I know it will help. It will. It'll make a difference, and it truly does. And I appreciate you sharing that today.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. You said flip the. What did you say? Flip the script or flip the? I would say. Sorry, I say flip the script a lot. You said
That's
flip
okay.
the
Thought blocking,
Thought
or
blocking.
negative thought flipping.
negative thought flipping. I love that because I think that's so important throughout your day. Because sometimes, I kind of pride myself on being an ultra positive person, but I've worked really hard to get here, right? I wasn't always this positive in life. I've worked really, really hard. But when those negative ones come in, I go, I'm going to find the good in it. I always try to look for the good. I call it look for the good, or
Yeah.
I like that flip to the positive. But at first it's hard, but after a while I can be standing there and I could see I can almost feel the frown turn to a smile
When you're able to flip
when I'm
something.
able to flip it. And I think that that's a beautiful thing when you can start to flip it throughout your day, even when you're being, say you're seeing negativity coming at you left and right.
Yeah.
But I say, I don't mind what happens. I got it from Eckhart Tolle. It said, or Tolle, I don't know how you say his name, but he said, I don't mind what happens. I go, okay, I'm going to flip this right now. And I don't mind that person's having a bad day, but I'm not going to let that affect my day.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that that's a key thing that takes years to get to, because I used to not. I mean, I could get riled up with the best of them, right? When someone's throwing negative at you. But I love being in that space now, and I hope that for everyone.
Right. Don't let someone else steal your joy.
No, never let anyone steal your joy. I love that. Okay, are we running out of time, sweetie? he came. Okay, we're going to 5:30 then. No, I'm kidding, just kidding. We got to let Tammy go about her day. I want to do something that we call just little fun favorite things, because I want to hear the things that bring joy in your life, and you can share it with others, and it could possibly bring joy to theirs. So, all right, first of all, we're going to start with favorite restaurant here in West Texas.
I think that for a date night, we like Flair Taverna in Odessa.
I haven't tried it, but I've heard great things about it.
I have never had a bad meal or bad service at Flair.
Love it.
Not once.
Okay, there you go.
So that's a date night.
Yes.
Obviously with two younger, not small, they're 10 and 12, but
Yes.
two children. Like, we keep it pretty simple when it's a family thing. Like, we like things, loud restaurants,
Right.
like Chewy's and
Yes.
Bubba's, places where it's loud
That's
and
what
a
I was
lot of
thinking,
stimulus
Bubba's.
going on. But truly, for a date night and a really just a great quality meal and a good environment and great service, I would say Flair.
Love it. All right, favorite coffee shop.
Oh, I don't get to do that very often. I love the vibe at Far West, and I also like Higher Ground.
Yes, too great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really good feels there. Yeah, I love that. Favorite book.
Okay. You know what? Probably my favorite book, and it's dark, is The Tattooist of Auschwitz.
Okay.
It's a true story about the tattooist at Auschwitz at a concentration camp. And it's his story about how he got that position and what that meant, and his journey of finding love in the concentration camp.
Wow.
And his afterlife of getting out of the concentration camp, surviving. And it's a very, very impactful and amazing story. And so it's probably one of my favorite books.
I love that. All right. Thank you for sharing. Favorite podcast.
Right now, probably Mel Robbins.
Yeah, hers is good. Yeah, if you're gonna listen to something besides the Krista Escamilla Show, please listen to Mel Robbins.
Sorry.
Oh no. I mean, I am a huge Mel Robbins fan.
Yeah.
I mean, huge. And it goes back to anything. I want everyone to learn and grow together, right? And that's all she's doing is. I mean, she is encouraging that day to day, and she's
day.
real. She's like
She's
gonna give it to you like it is.
yeah, she's definitely a sit across the table and just give it to you.
Yeah.
But willing to take it too.
Right. Absolutely.
So, and I'm all for that.
So here's an open invitation. Come sit across this table, Mel Robbins. We would love to have you on the show.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I love her down to earthness, because I think that's so important to get through life. And so I love that. Okay. Favorite. Oh, I love this one. Fun fact. Tell me a fun fact about you that we would not know by reading your bio.
Fun fact. Holy moly. Okay, I can say this one. I was in my first life. I was an ER nurse in a level 1 trauma center in Detroit for a long time.
Wow.
So I've seen all the things.
I bet.
And I took care of Aretha Franklin.
That is a fun fact. Oh my gosh. She came into the ER?
Yeah.
Oh
For
my
something so lame, which that's what's make it so funny.
I love it.
But I mean, she's no longer living, and so we can toss HIPAA out the window. I would not otherwise be talking about someone's
That's right. That's
patient care. But yeah,
Who would have thought
yeah.
that she would walk into
And
your
it was
ER?
so one of these like pull the curtain back to go in to see the patient, and I hadn't even looked at the name on the chart yet, and I was like, RESPECT.
Right. Yeah, I would have sang to her.
Right.
But then I would have thought, okay, why are you singing
And she
to
would have just been
Aretha?
like,
Because she would,
get me what I need and get me out of here.
yeah, just fix me and get me out
Yeah,
of here.
so there's one little
I
weird,
love that.
quirky story.
That is a fun fact. That is very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, tell me I like this one. Favorite life hack. Something that makes your life easier.
Oh, I always go to sleep with a clean kitchen.
Oh.
Or an empty sink.
Oh my gosh. My husband did not hear that. No, he did not. He loves that too.
I gotta have the sink needs to be empty before we go to bed.
I'm like, I could care less. I'm like, oh, they're gonna be there tomorrow. I'll take care of them tomorrow. But he's like,
I just know what's coming in the morning and the chaos of getting everybody to school and to work and all that. And if the sink is clean,
it is so much better.
The morning starts out better for me.
You're right.
When it's full of dishes and I'm looking for that one thing. So that's
you're right. That is a good life hack, and I need to listen to that life hack because you're right. The days that it's clean, it's the morning routine goes by better because you're not sitting there staring at them.
Right.
I love
on
that.
On a mental health and serious note,
yeah,
I get up before everybody else, not by a lot, and I take 15 minutes to do kind of a grounding and peaceful mindset meditation before I ever engage with the rest of my family, so that I hope that I will be in the best frame of mind before I start interacting with the rest of my people.
Oh, I love that. I was going to ask you your favorite part of your morning routine. So is that your favorite part of your morning routine?
Yeah. I get up and before anything else, I walk straight into the living room. I sit in the middle cushion of the couch and I have this cheesy little thing that does red light therapy, and I turn it on. And I do a 15-minute grounding meditation to just set my mind on positivity and gratitude and joy before I ever turn on lights in the house or turn on the music or wake up my kids say good morning to my husband. I start there.
And don't you feel like the day, if you ever miss that, say you're traveling.
I missed it this morning.
Oh, no, I'm sorry you missed it. I was like, don't you feel like something's a little off?
Yes, I was.
I'm the same way.
I totally was.
If we don't have a part of we have our morning routine, if there's a part of it that I didn't get to do or it was tweaked a little bit, I feel like the rest of the day something is off until I go do it.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was. I was a little bit off.
Well, maybe you can close the day out with your red light therapy tonight.
I will.
Why not? Why not? You can flip it every now and then.
There we go.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Okay, your favorite memory in Midland.
Favorite memory in Midland. Oh my gosh, what's going to be it's going to be our adoptions.
I love that. And I love your story of how you got here because for those of us who were maybe not born and raised in Midland, and maybe everyone wonders why am I here, right? Like I remember that feeling until I met my husband, and 4 kids later, I'm like, oh, God had a better plan for me than I had for myself, right? And you always kind of question, why are we here in this place? And for you to have, this was the spot where you adopted your children. God had this plan. Yeah. From Detroit to Midland, Texas.
Christian's adoption. We were sitting in the courtroom. We had tons of family and friends there, and he was 1.5, 2, and he got jumped out of my lap and was running around the courtroom with a pencil in his hand. And I remember looking up at the judge, and I was like, please don't not grant this adoption because I'm having trouble controlling this 2-year-old right now. And it was just, everybody got a big laugh out of that because I'm letting my 2-year-old run around with a pencil.
Right. Oh, that's funny.
Both of our adoptions are beautiful, beautiful stories and memories.
I love that. Finally, let's see. Favorite. Oh, we haven't asked your favorite movie yet. So favorite movie.
Mary Poppins.
Oh, it's a good one. I love that. It's a feel-good movie, isn't it? It feels good. It's a good movie. Oh, and favorite hype song. I have to ask you this because I have a favorite hype song that I'm like, you know what? The day's not going great. I can put that song on. It's going to hype me up. Do you have a hype song?
You know what? I don't. I need one.
You need a hype song.
Can I borrow yours?
Sure.
What's yours?
Don't Stop Believin' by Journey.
Oh, that's a good one.
That
everybody can sing.
It is. I mean, talk about a song that pretty much everybody knows the words to at one point, right?
And why? Why that song?
I don't know. Because if you really listen to the words, just a small town girl living in a lonely world, you're like, okay, it's not like these words are, I don't know. They're not award winning, I guess, right? But until you get to that chorus, Don't Stop Believin', that's when you go, okay, this song is hype.
And no matter where it gets played, everybody's going to be singing it.
That and Sweet Caroline.
Everybody knows
Sweet Caroline. Come on, everyone. Bum, bum, bum. You have those songs, right? Mm-hmm. They just put a smile on your face. So I always like to hear other people's hype songs. What makes them song? So text me later. If you think about it, I'd love to know what your hype song is. Okay. But I have loved this conversation so much because I think this is such an important topic. Like you said, there could be a part 2, a part 3, a part 4. We would love to have you back on another time and share more of your knowledge, because I think the tips and the tools you've given us today truly will make a difference in our listeners' lives. So thank you for that. In closing, is there anything that we didn't talk about? I always like to ask, is there anything that you thought, on the driving over, I want to make sure that this comes out today, or I get to share this story. Is there anything we missed today that you would love to share with our listeners?
Gosh, mental health work is very, very vulnerable work, and it is vulnerable for me to hold space for people and be alongside people. It's not easy. Yeah. It's not easy work, and I try to really. My priority is always to make connection and hope that patients really feel heard and don't feel like they walk out of my office and go, she wasn't listening to anything I was saying. Yeah. And
that's a gift that you have.
Thank you.
It is a beautiful gift.
I think it's because I know that's what I would want if I was seeking mental health care. But I want to encourage people, if you've had a bad experience in mental health care, like you sought counseling and you thought, I'm going to do this, and you go get in with a counselor and you do a couple of sessions and you're like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Or you go and you see a psychiatrist and you feel like that they judged you or weren't listening to you or were not putting what you were trying to say in the forefront of the plan. Don't give up and write it off. Is not an option for you. Locking in with the right therapist can be, you don't ever want to be without them, like forever. Right. Even when you're doing well, you don't want to be without them.
Right. It's like having a life coach. And,
and having a psychiatric provider that really listens and works collaboratively with you to find the right answers and get the right things going to optimize yourself. I just want to encourage people to just keep pushing and have your voice and seek the help that you need. Don't give up and write it off because you had a bad experience, because there are amazing counseling options here in our town. We've got a lot of really, really great resources.
We do.
And then, of course, I'm here.
And we want to let everyone know how they can find you, like on social media, or how can they reach out to you, because you are amazing. I mean, just sitting here today, I am just in awe of your knowledge and your love and your care for people's mental health. I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
It really is.
Of course, Vitality Psychiatric Services has both an Instagram page and a Facebook page. And then Ketamine Clinic of West Texas has a Facebook page. It's the same phone number for both clinics. So reaching out and talking to my girl Emily at the front desk, and she's really great at just having that initial conversation and kind of figuring out what next steps would be best.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for shining a light and awareness this month as we close out a Mental Health Awareness Month, the month of May. I just want to thank you for what you do, and for all of anyone in this space for what you're doing, because I truly want to see our world healed. And I would love for people to, I feel like there would be less pain in the world if we could all just see that everyone's going through something. And if we could offer that kindness and know that person, maybe that they were unkind to you that day, they're going through something. And maybe we just need to be that smile they needed that day, or that kind word that they needed. But I would love to see the world healed, because I think it could truly make a difference. And so thank you for doing the good work, and thank you for sharing today, because I just love everything we talked about and all your tips. So
thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate
I'm very
you.
passionate about getting the word out, so I'm always willing to talk about mental health any day, every day.
Yay, I love that. I love that. Follow her on all the things, Instagram, Facebook. And I want to thank all of you for listening and joining us today. If you have any questions, reach out. If there is someone in your life that you feel could benefit, please say those beautiful words that Tammy said earlier today, because I think it could truly make a difference in someone else's life. And thank you for listening. I hope that you have enjoyed this as much as we have, and will share this with a loved one. And we want you to know that we're listening, so please reach out anytime that you have questions or anything. We would love to connect with you. Follow on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We are at all the places. In closing, I do want to say thank you to our sponsors. Big thank you to Tapestry Hotel Midland, to Kevin Foreman Financial, Rig ID, to ThinFR, and to JoinCapClub.com and Midland Cap Company. Sorry, didn't mean to just make that noise in your ears at home. But I want to thank the sponsors because they allow us to share the beautiful stories like Tammy's. Again, Tammy Vaught today from Vitality Psychiatric Services. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful summer, and I hope to see you soon.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Don't forget my mottos: dream big, believe, and never give up. Thank you so much for joining us, and you make it a great day.